This is a Fatal 4 podcast.
And welcome to this post-show edition of Didn't Get All of It, Scotland. So no, I'm just kidding. But yeah, here we are. We just concluded the Clash at the Castle pay-per-view, or PLE, I should say. I'm still not used to, the delineation between pay-per-view and PLE or whatever. It still needs some getting used to and everything. And after all this time, you would figure that I wouldn't be doing this alone, and I would be getting used to my counterpart this evening, one Cody Carlson.
I'm here. Sorry, I might be a little distracted. I'm currently Googling, are there castles in Scotland? And there's a lot. There's a lot of castles there.
That wouldn't have been something I wouldn't have thought of either. This is like, well, I imagine since they're doing the show here and it's called Clash of the Castle, that there might be a castle there somewhere.
Yeah, I don't know anything about Scotland. Not gonna lie. Sorry for any of our Scotland listeners. I'm not versed on your culture, but there are in fact castles there. And I'm just wondering how many other countries with castles are left for them to be able to do this PLE at.
Also, if you are a Scottish listener and whatnot, make yourself known, because I am very interested in your thoughts of this pay-per-view. God damn it. PLE.
You better get that right.
I'm sorry. Yeah. I'm working on it. And if you're listening to this, you can find us weekly, Friday mornings and whatnot, on your favorite podcasting platform, which you should know how to use if you're listening to this, because it's on a podcasting platform. And if you're more inclined to hear some more content from us, you can get that information from fatal4pod.com, to where you can find many different ways to help support the show, including our Patreon. For $3 a month, you can get all kinds of bonus content and everything, and perks, to include our exclusive Discord, to where that's well worth the price of the $3 a month and everything, in my opinion. So yeah,
live chatting it up during PLEs.
Yes,
it's always a fun time there.
Fun things there. I was just in there with I guess he's a Didn't Get All of It alum, since we're kind of fresh. So Skipper Bob was there chatting it up with us or whatever. One of my homies from a previous podcast life. He has some employment with a specific company that might have hosted this PLE. See, I got it right that time.
Nice. Good job.
Word. But yeah, fatal4pod.com, where you can find all that stuff. And that's FOUR. But man.
Life. That's your slogan.
Word life?
No, for life, but like FOUR.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm. I'm going to scribble that down, because we're going to have to revisit that later. I do like that. And you know what? And there's another thing, not to go too far off before we get into this card. Are we going to go with the calling the people the fappers? The F, the 4, and the P?
We might have to workshop that one.
Yeah, okay. So I don't know. All right, it just came to mind. I thought that was hilarious. Anyway, we started this show off with the Undisputed WWE Championship match. It was an I Quit match between the champion, Cody Rhodes, and AJ Styles, which you would think Cody Rhodes was someone else, maybe a talent name or a women's tag champion, because they messed that up.
I totally missed that, and then you texted me and was like, talent name, and I was like, what are you talking about? And then I hopped on X and saw all the screenshots. That's a funny goof.
Yeah, because it was when they found it, they pulled it down real quick, because I'm surprised I even saw it, because I just kind of looked up from my keyboard and was like, oh shit.
If I was going to SmackDown on Friday, I would totally just bring a sign that says talent name and hold it up during Cody's entire segment.
I hope they make something of this, because that was too hilarious not to talk about. And people said it in our Discord, Botchamania is eating tonight.
Yeah, this show. So overall, this show was pretty good, but Yeah, that's definitely true. I think that there was at least one type of botch in every single match. Whether it was this graphic botch or physical botches.
Physical botches.
But that's okay. Stuff happens. I thought this opening match was fantastic.
Okay.
Like,
so do you think it breaks the norm of any other I Quit matches that we've had in the past?
I mean, it's a pretty formulaic match. It's pretty standard. It's pretty easy to, well, I shouldn't say easy, but I mean, it's pretty cut and dry as far as the layout of a I Quit match. It's, you know, babyface gets their ass kicked for a long time. They keep refusing to quit. Like a House of Fire, they come back and the heel cowardly quits. Like, it's pretty standard. But I thought the work that these two did around all of that was incredible.
Okay. So a couple things that I want to talk about with this match in particular. I know before we started recording proper, I asked you about the if you watched any of the pre-show stuff. The pre-show stuff
I didn't see that.
would feature Big E and Kevin Owens at some point. And on this pod last week, when we talked about the build-up for this and everything and how this match in particular could go, we just threw out some scenarios that we might incorporate into this. We thought maybe he would take Brandy or Cody's mom as hostage to make him say I quit or anything. We was trying to speculate ways of how the fiery babyface of all babyfaces, Cody Rhodes, would utter the words I quit. We also throw out the scenario of the Mankind treatment or whatever. Famously in that I Quit match, they played a recording over the PA system of Mankind saying I quit from a promo.
I quit.mp3.
Yeah. So these are scenarios that we talked about on this podcast, but in the pre-show panel, those were the things that were said by Big E and Kevin Owens. So I thought that was funny.
So what you're telling me is Big E and Kevin Owens listened to Didn't Get All of It.
That's exactly what I'm saying.
Okay.
You know?
What's up,
Didn't
guys?
Get All of It influences the word.
Hey, Kevin Owens, if you're listening to this on SmackDown, why don't you eat some grapes in a segment? All right. If Kevin Owens is eating grapes on SmackDown, it's confirmed he listens to the show. But no, see, we did consider all those things. What we didn't consider is that just Cody wins, LOL.
Yeah.
Which I'm okay with it. I mean,
yeah,
it's fine. I thought going into this match, it was going to be interesting to see how I was interested in seeing how the Scotland crowd would react to Cody.
Yeah,
because he's very over, right? Definitely across North America. But the last international PLE, the crowd was super into AJ in France. Yeah. And part of me was like, does this American Nightmare gimmick just not work outside of America? Like,
you know what? I never even thought about it like that.
I mean, he's very red, white, and blue, and like the rest of the world kind of hates America. So like maybe he just doesn't work in other parts of the world. But no, I think France just loved AJ for whatever reason. This crowd was really great, especially in this match. There was a very loud "fuck you, AJ" chant at one point.
Oh yeah, very loud.
I thought was interesting. I don't think they typically bleep stuff during PLEs, but
no,
they definitely didn't censor it, and the commentary even acknowledged it. There was like a shot of AJ, retaliating to the crowd and flipping them off. So like, I thought that was really cool.
Yeah. And as per my source for that type of thing or whatever, WWE themselves do not have control over, like the bleeping or anything. That's strictly a network thing. So, I mean, given that this is a paid platform in Peacock or whatever, I don't think those things apply here.
Okay. Fair enough. It'll be interesting to see what happens then when Raw goes to Netflix.
Exactly. We spoke about that in the Discord too. It's just like, will it still be on Mondays? Will it still be a full 3 hours? Because like, it's on network TV. It's 3 hours because of ads and commercials and all kinds of things like that, which They still will have, because like you still have to transition from segment to segment. You still got to set up props and do other things. As human beings, they're gonna need space in between. But will it be a full on 3 hours when they hit Netflix? Is what we was debating on.
I think it's confirmed that it's staying on Mondays, but yeah, I don't necessarily know if they've confirmed the runtime yet.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, yeah, this match, I thought it was excellent. Like the AJ beating down on Cody was great. He hit a nasty looking brain buster on the table outside.
Yes.
That made me like physically squirm when I saw that. Cody then I presumably bladed shortly after, which wrestling's back, folks, because we're blading.
You know what I feel, because like I know there was a regime change and everything, of course, is obvious in that, but like when Cody entered the fold, I think blood was like negotiated in his contract.
Yeah, he's probably like, I am only coming back if I can blade at least every quarter.
Cody Vader, negotiable. Pyro, I mean, negotiable, but I have to blade.
But it I don't mind it when used properly. Like, there's a lot of criticism in other companies, AEW, that they overuse it, and there's blood in every match or multiple matches in a night. But like, this was the only match that had blood, and it was warranted based on the feud and the type of match, and it worked.
I just like it better here how they at least set those things up. So like AJ threw him over the barricade and he was hidden off camera to emerge with the blood on his face and whatnot, to where AEW, I mean, it's crazy.
Nothing's worse than, have you ever seen that clip from WCW? Late stage WCW where Hogan turns around to take a chair shot and just like gigs himself as he's about to get hit with the chair.
I know.
Directly in front of the camera. Yeah. Anyway, the whole like ending stretch of this was great. Cody got handcuffed, just getting his ass beat with kendo sticks and chairs. Mama Rhodes gets involved and slaps the shit out of AJ, which is great. And I definitely thought AJ was then gonna, either grab her, or the OC was gonna come down and get her, or he was gonna because he goes back inside to grab a chair, and I was like, oh, he's gonna go out and threaten Michelle with a chair, and then Cody's gonna quit. That didn't happen. So, I thought exactly what you just said. Had he been handcuffed to a stationary object. True.
So like if he was handcuffed and you couldn't get away or whatnot, then the threatening of her to make him say I quit would have made more sense. But like now when I see these long ass handcuffs, I know it's that way for a reason. I mean, really, if I wanted to handcuff you, I'm not going to use the long ass handcuffs, but in a pro wrestling standpoint, you have to use those so the performer can protect himself, so he can properly do his falls and brace himself and everything like that.
True.
But I didn't
even think of that.
Yeah, but it's weird as fuck, especially if you use those long ones and you don't, affix them to something stationary. Yeah,
that's a good point. It was also funny too when AJ introduced them. He pulled them out of this like black sack.
Oh yeah,
and the whole crowd popped real big. And you could hear AJ say, he was like, "I know what you think it is. It's not." I mean, everyone thought it was thumbtacks.
Exactly.
It was not. It was handcuffs. But no, Cody, made his comeback and got out of the handcuffs. AJ went to go do a phenomenal forearm with the chain wrapped around his forearm, and Cody just yeeted a steel chair right at his face. AJ fell backwards through a table. I thought this was one of the coolest spots of the year. Like it just
it was a double whammy. I was like, as soon as it happened, I was like, I forgot completely about that table that was back there.
So did I. Yep. Just beautiful setup, beautiful execution. Cody got real pissed. He ended up handcuffing AJ to the ropes, and the only reason, with what?
Yeah, go ahead. You probably saying the same thing I was about to say.
So, well, I was just gonna say the only reason I wouldn't give this match 5 stars, I would give it like 4.5. I thought it was excellent. I just didn't love the finish. I think it.
Okay.
I didn't love just like steel steps being like, I don't know. People get hit with steel steps all the time. Like, why was AJ so afraid of the steel steps?
Well, I mean, I believe if it was if he was cuffed in a more, vulnerable position to where you couldn't protect yourself properly, then yeah, I get it. But like he could have it was handcuffed to the ropes, right? He could have just
It was just one
went
one of his
outside.
Sure, exactly. Like it could have just done better. Yeah, like get 2 handcuffs and like almost crucify him on the ropes, so that way unprotected shot to the head and then he quits. Like sure, something like that, or a more threatening weapon than the steps or something. Like I don't know. But those kind of fell flat for me.
Yeah, the strength by Cody Rhodes to wield those 500-pound steps, though, right?
Sure.
That's the lore with the steps. We know.
That's my only complaint is the actual finish. Everything else I thought was like flawless. So Cody won, which was interesting because then it's like, okay, where do we go from here? Right.
Exactly.
And I guess they sort of quickly answered that by having Solo Sikoa appear behind Cody, and the bloodline jumps Cody Rhodes. But then he's quickly saved by Kevin Owens and Randy Orton. Randy Orton, who for some reason is in full wrestling gear.
Yeah. Weird.
Despite not being booked on this show. Does that man own pants?
I have no clue. I mean, from what we hear about the young upstart Randy Orton or whatever, I mean, he shits in people's gear. So why would he wear pants when he's just gonna?
he just shits in his own gear bags. That's why he doesn't have any pants.
Yeah, it's just like fuck it. He's like, that's just one thing I have to take off as well. So I'll just walk around in my underwear. But also, what was kind of funny from this as well, they took the picture that they made a meme of Randy Orton of him staring at the fans' breasts, and they also had a shot of Randy over Cody's shoulder, staring at his title the same way.
Yeah, I don't know. I saw a lot of people sharing that screen cap of him like staring at the title, but if you watch like the full clip, like it's
an isolated moment in time.
Yeah, like it really is just like he glances at it for a second, but it did not feel like a deliberate like, ooh, this is foreshadowing. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it was, but I don't know. I thought people were overreacting to that, but nonetheless, I think I could see us getting a trios match at Money in the Bank. And Cody takes a month off from defending the title, and we get some bloodline versus Owens, Orton, Cody's, just as like kind of a holdover until whatever Cody's next real program is.
Yeah, and I kind of feel like, how have they not done the thing between Cody and Randy yet?
Well, I think that's what this. I think that'll
on the
lead
horizon.
Yeah. Like I could definitely see Cody and Orton being the SummerSlam match, and could be how they get there. Whether it's a maybe the baby faces lose at Money in the Bank and Orton blames Cody, or vice versa, or something, and then there's animosity, and then they have that match, or they win and it's a mutual respect
just
thing,
a friendly thing. Yeah,
and Orton's like, hey, like, we helped you kind of owe me, let's have a title match or something. Like there's a lot of ways they could get there, so I look forward to it.
Word. Next, though, we have the triple threat tag team match for the women's tag championship.
We sure
so
did.
I mean this was a slam dunk for me, as far as like, out of all the things that we might have said pre this event, like about picking winners and everything, this made the most sense to me to have who won, which we'll talk about here momentarily, but it just made all the sense to me. Let's just get into it. I don't even know why I'm prefacing a lot of this shit, but what do you think about the match anyway?
It was messy. It was very
It was. Yeah, it was. And it was only 12 minutes too.
Yeah, it started off pretty good, and was pretty fast paced and had some cool spots. Bianca
Mm-hmm.
looked great as usual.
Oh yes.
But like, it just kind of fell apart at one point, and Jade,
I
obviously
can
the big
pinpoint
thing.
where.
Yeah, I mean, she goes for a
springboard
and slips, which, you know, it happens. It happens.
It was
to
a
the
good
best of us.
recovery, though. I thought
It happens to the best in the world, even. But yeah, she recovered fine. For the sake of this podcast, though, I was kind of hoping that she would have connected slightly and someone would have sold it, so that way we might have maybe gotten a intro clip. But no, she basically missed completely, and then her and Shayna just like scuffled for a second and then quickly recovered. And it just felt like she was, you know,
pissed at herself. Really, it was visibly pissed.
Yeah, and she was just off for the rest of the match, like half a step, and you could tell. But it happens, whatever. She still did some cool shit. She did this like big boot, like suplex combo thing at one point. She was like suplexing someone while big booting someone else.
Yes. So
cool shit.
I have thoughts on that as well. Is like, I don't think that was intentional for her to do the sit out with it or whatnot. I think after she did the big boot, that she slipped and fell into it.
It was more of like a sit out powerbomb, wasn't it? It was. I think it was supposed to be like a slam, but I don't know. It looked cool. Whatever.
Yeah, it did. But that's a mark of a true performer, man. It's just like when you can kind of roll through your mistakes in improv or whatever. But like, you know, shit happens, like you said.
Right? Yeah, and like that's the thing about pro wrestling is like it's supposed to be a real fight, right? Like there's supposed to be a struggle. Everything's not supposed to be perfectly choreographed. Like stuff like this can make the sport better and actually make it seem more real, as long as you recover naturally. Like had she like slipped and then went back outside and tried to do the spot over again,
a springboard,
and everyone just stood around waiting for her, like that's not good. But like to just slip and then just get back up and get back into it, like yeah, it's a real fight. Like that's how it should be.
Yeah.
But I was not really for this finish. I mean, like if Bianca and Jade were going to drop the titles, I guess this is the way to do it, where they don't actually eat the pinfall. But I just felt like it's too soon in their run to do this. And like I complained on the show last week, like, I'm sorry, they did not, besides Drew McIntyre, obviously, they did not build up the Scottish wrestlers enough to warrant their positions on this card. And they definitely did not build up these two to win these titles here.
Yeah. So, I mean, I spoke about it too as well last week. I mean, I know that may look like that, especially like for somebody like you who've only seen them in a certain size of what WWE presents of these characters or whatever, but they were in the place where these people got signed by WWE because of the work they did in the places where they were presented today. You know, so it's like,
I mean, sure,
you know,
it's not a lifetime achievement award. It's,
and you know, let's even talk about that. I mean, I'm not saying this is a lifetime achievement award, but like given the circumstances around why they made this decision, it kind of feels right.
So I know you didn't watch any of it, but I was before we started recording this podcast watching some of the press conference, and Triple H actually addressed that in the press conference and said that, you know, gave his condolences and talked about what Alba Fyre has gone through the last couple weeks with a death in her family. And Triple H even like said, like, I know people are going to say, oh, we did this because of that, and that's not true. And he basically just shut that down and said that, you know, basically implied that this was the plan all along, which maybe is true. That's what he says. Yeah. But I still don't think, regardless of all that, I don't think it's the right call.
Well,
cool moment, sure.
Yeah. Just looking at the two, though, I haven't really got a lot of Isla Dawn, but Alba Fyre, Katie Ray, Fries, whatever you want to call her. I mean, she is one of the longest reigning champions in this company as far as like for the women's UK title and shit. So like, you know,
Yeah, but like,
get some reward or whatever, right? Huh? Just a little
yeah,
bit.
but if a tree falls in a forest and nobody's around, doesn't make a sound.
Yeah,
You
but
know,
that's just like your sample size, man. You gotta look at everybody. Come on, man.
all right. Well, I don't know. Let's see if they can follow up on it. I'm
True,
most interested
you're
to
right.
see what they do with Belair and Jade. Maybe they just run it back, a rematch. You know, a 2-on-2 rematch at Money in the Bank or something.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe the heels cheat to win, and Bianca and Jade move on. But I just feel like we haven't gotten enough of this tag team. So
Well,
it just doesn't make sense to drop it here.
Well, from day one, they put these two together. I knew it was like to lead to them opposing each other. So, like, I don't know if this is the start of that.
I just feel like it's too early. I don't know. That just seems like a WrestleMania match to me. I know Paul insists that, you know, you do Rhea and Bianca this year.
Yeah.
So
but
I don't know. Maybe
they
do it
over on the other side.
Yeah, maybe they do it at SummerSlam. Maybe they do Jade and Bianca at SummerSlam. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
We'll see.
Yeah. Cool.
What was the next match?
We have Sami Zayn, your Intercontinental Champion, versus Chad Gable. Now, before we even get into this match, I would like to say, out of all the new championship rebranding or, you know, reimagining, remodeling, or whatever the fuck you want to call it, I like the Intercontinental Championship the least.
Like, you're talking from a belt design standpoint?
Yes.
Oh yeah,
Correct.
It's ugly as fuck.
Don't like that.
Yeah. I mean, it grew on me, and I think mostly because of Gunther. Like, I guess I just probably got so used to seeing it on him, and he's just such a visual himself that, like, it started to grow on me, but I feel like just objectively it is an ugly title. Like, by itself.
So, like, whenever we think about belt designs or whatever, as soon as you see it, like, you associate that design specifically with a professional wrestler. Like, for me, the previous United States title, anytime I see that design, I automatically think MVP because he's my favorite United States champion or whatever. So, like, that can be the same for you. Whenever you see this title, you see Gunther and whatnot. But
yeah.
So, yeah, this match was pretty good.
Yeah, well, I was going to say it might be one of the ugliest belts, but it's been one of the best booked titles the last few years, honestly. And it continues with Sami Zayn. Yeah, this was really good. It was at first I was watching it and I was kind of like, like, they're not really doing much. Like, they're like wrestling and you know, trading holds and a lot of back and forth, but like, it wasn't very exciting. But it built up, and it eventually, you know, they started pulling out some really good counters and reversals and a lot of back and forth, and then it kind of all came to a head when the shenanigans started to happen, right? Yeah.
So, like, what I want to talk about as far as the dynamic between the two, I mean, one half, specifically Sami Zayn, we was talking about this in the Discord, which you too can be a part of if you go to fatal4pod.com and join our Patreon and everything.
Bono? You said you too.
That? Oh my God.
Bono can be a part of our Discord?
He sure can, because I mean he comes pre-installed on your iPhone anyway.
They should make Fatal 4 podcasts pre-installed on everyone's iPhones. Who do I got to talk to at Apple?
I'm down with that.
Tim Apple, if you're listening,
please
put Didn't Get All of It on every iPhone.
But with Sami Zayn specifically, like, you look at Chad Gable, you know, his presentation and everything and what he does in the ring, you know, Olympic wrestler, a la Kurt Angle type style performer, right? But like Sami Zayn is like fluid and whatnot. So like, you just speak about who he wrestles, like, or even the persona that he may portray at the time. We talk about El Generico or whatever. The style of El Generico is completely different from what we have currently now with Sami Zayn and whatnot. And I know wrestlers evolve and, you know, they kind of sway with the limitations of their body as they get older and whatnot. But like, he just wrestles dependent upon who he's going up against and whatnot. And that was evident here because like he was doing a lot of the wrestling reversals and whatnot. Like the one spot that I'll point to is when they got into the standing switch off and whatnot.
Yes,
it was just doing the waist lock into the half and half
switched off like
over the
10
top.
times.
Yeah. And that makes sense because like that's a disorientating move because like you don't know what's coming next and just it's disorientating of the go around and whatnot. And to come off with offense out of that was pretty fucking cool.
Yeah. Basically they were just spamming the Y button.
Yes.
Just hit reversal. Yeah, no, I agree with all that. Sami Zayn's very good at like adapting to his opponent and whatever the circumstances call for, he can do it. Also, you brought up El Generico, and I don't think I've ever said this on the podcast before, but I've always wanted to admit when I was younger, I'd never really watched any ROH or any of the indie wrestling or anything like that. Well, I say when I was younger, I still don't watch that, but
and it shows.
But I was like, I'm more tapped into it now than I was back then. Back then, it would just be like I would see things and read stuff, but I wouldn't watch anything. So for the longest time, I thought Sami Zayn's old persona was El Generico, and I didn't understand the gimmick. And I just thought it was like some weird made up word, which it is, but I was definitely mispronouncing it wrong for a long time.
Hey man, it happens.
Yeah,
it happens.
Anyway, this match, a lot of, like I said, shenanigans happened towards the end with Otis and Maxine, and Tozawa was not there.
I don't know if it might have been a visa thing or international thing or whatever.
Yeah, but basically, things started to get kind of crazy when Maxine got on the apron and Sami Zayn went for a haluva kick. And,
I thought she was going to eat it.
Yeah, he came very close to hitting Maxine, and then Chad capitalized by hitting a Chaos Theory. And I'll admit,
I love.
Yeah, it's a sick move, and I totally bought it. I thought this was the finish. I thought that's it. Chad Gable's the new Intercontinental champion. Sami Zayn kicked out at like 2.999. I totally bought it, and then Otis gets involved, and Chad gets in his face outside, and because Chad Gable's yelling at Maxine for getting in the way, and Otis defends her. Yeah. And then Sami Zayn does a planche over the top rope, which Gable pulls Otis into. So now Otis is down, and then Gable quickly capitalizes, hits a moonsault, brings him inside to do another moonsault, and I was like, okay, here it is. Like, this has got to be the finish. Yeah. And it wasn't. Sami Zayn cut out of the way. They wrestled for a little bit more, went outside, and
that got me. That moment there that you're about to describe when Gable...
The ankle lock?
Yeah, well, beyond that, to where we kind of got to the end of the match or whatnot. I mean, the ankle lock spot and all that stuff was cool, but like they get to tussling on the outside and Maxine gets hit in the back of the leg on the boot and shit. And I'm just like, yo. Yep.
Sami Zayn reverses the ankle lock. Chad Gable goes flying and inadvertently hits Maxine with a chop block. Once that happened, I was like, oh man, okay, Gable's not winning. Which I know we've been saying. Well, here's I'm starting to kind of change my mind here.
Yeah. Do you? Well, I mean, I'll tell you what I think. I think it's kind of transitioning the focus away from Gable and Sami to Gable and what's going to happen moving forward with the rest of the guys and whatnot.
Right. Yeah. So I know we've been clamoring on this podcast and old podcasts as far as for Chad Gable to become Intercontinental champion.
Yes. Our champion, period.
Right. And we still want that. But hear me out. I think now that they've fully committed to this heel run, they're doing this stuff with Otis. It is working.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think you need to give Chad the title right now. I think it'll be a much more rewarding moment if we do it way down the line when he's a babyface again.
Mm-hmm.
I think him being a shitty, guy right now, like He doesn't need to become champion. He needs to just be this abusive coach. Otis can get the big baby face turn. You can do that program, run that for a while. Jade can do some other stuff. Maybe in like a year's time, he comes back around and gets that big crowning moment.
The man comes back around. I got you.
Because I think it's mostly because this story is working, and I'm getting invested, and I want to see Otis, break free or whatever, which is good. But at the same time, it is kind of like, okay, it seems to be like the last 2 or 3 weeks, it's kind of just rinse and repeat. It's just the same, Otis.
They're holding out
is he
for
gonna?
something, yeah.
Is he gonna? Is he not? Is he gonna? Is he not? And then he doesn't. It's just kind of, like holding pattern. So they need to. I want to see what they do on Monday. I think they need to really kick it up a notch.
Yeah, I thought it was going to progress further here tonight because, we just been speculating about it. Like, Gable is going to join up with the Creed brothers and Ivy Nile or whatever, or something like that. Or, something that's going to happen involving all those people. Yeah. What I forgot about, and I didn't realize again until we started talking about it in the Discord, once again, which you can be a part of if you go to fatal4pod.com. Gable and Otis are like real life best friends and shit, and they literally live on the same street from each other and shit, so they're always together. Yeah.
Huh.
I forgot all about that shit. They train together. They got YouTube and Twitch streams and shit where they be hanging out and shit, and I forgot about all that. So that's why, like, now in hindsight, this makes a lot of sense why they're doing this.
Yeah. Should we take a break?
Yeah. But all in all, it was a good match. So far, everything up until this point was a great show. But we still have more to talk about. We have the Women's Championship. And we also have the Men's Heavyweight Championship to discuss in the main events of this show. And we'll talk about them more when we come back from this break. And welcome back. Hopefully you enjoyed some good commercial breaks there and whatnot. Maybe we should come up with some didn't get all of it themed breaks in the middle, but you know what? Now that I say that out loud, it probably won't be a good idea because we can't pay ourselves for that. Anyway, we got our main events as far as the women and men left to cover and whatnot, and we'll roll right into the Women's Championship featuring Bayley, the champion, versus Piper Niven. Give me some thoughts there, Cody.
I do have some thoughts. If you listen to last week's show, you know how I feel about Piper being in this match. And if you watch the show, I think I'm justified in what I said, because despite her story and despite being a hometown hero, I felt she was not very over at all. Her music hit and there was no pop. She got, a pretty decent one during the introductions. But I mean, they said Scotland, so like hard not to get a pop there. And then Bayley was still pretty over. The crowd was singing that Bayley song that they sing. And, there were some Piper Niven chants, and, she was definitely more over than she usually is, but she's usually not over at all. So had they put in the work, she would have been super over here, but they didn't put in the work, and this is what we got. So
well, I understand your criticism about all the Scottish people that are on this card or whatever, and I agree with your point to an extent, but the question that I have for you, out of this match and the women's tag match, would you trade the results?
No. Only because, no, definitely not. Because, like I said, Piper's not over. And there's no reason to end Bayley's run right now.
Yeah, I mean,
at least with them.
especially since how good she's been looking in ring and out.
Yeah, I mean, she's been putting on some really good matches, WrestleMania included, and all throughout her run. So, yeah, no, I would not have. I think this was the right call. The match itself was actually it was pretty good. Yeah. I would say. I'm just thinking here real quick. Yeah, it was probably the best Piper Niven match I've ever seen.
And I think she has that in her, but like to your point, to kind of agree with you to an extent. Needed a little more build up and whatnot. And I think they did a good job here on this specific show, which would, to your point, why they didn't do this previous, right. And I think it's kind of like, because she was kind of shoehorned in with Chelsea Green and everything, which had a hilarious spot in there. She left the ring because she was ejected as Chelsea Green, but she came back under a mask as Chelsea Verde.
I think I'm surprised that they didn't use this as a jumping off point for splitting that team, because
they need to.
Yeah, I just I don't think it does much for either of them. I think they're I think Chelsea Green's pretty good, and I like what she's done in the position, but how much longevity does this team really have? I think
she's a great enough personality by herself.
Yeah, I think it would have been fine. Having Chelsea do that whole luchador spot, but then cost Niven the match. Have that be too distracting to where Bayley takes advantage and wins. And then and then what you could do is have Piper get her big moment by beating up Chelsea Green, because that was the other thing. Chelsea Green was very hated here, regardless of her association with Piper. So you could have gotten that big hometown moment after the match, have Bayley win, leave, and then Piper Niven beats up Chelsea Green for costing her the match, and then the crowd, is happy.
And then just Chelsea's character as is, or just period, to where that would have made sense for them to do that, because she can get her ass whipped and it wouldn't damage her at all.
Right. But no, they didn't do that. They just put on a fine match and it was over. That was it. I don't know. I don't really have much else to say.
Yeah. And we asked the same question again. What's next for Bayley?
It's a good question. Looking at the SmackDown roster, there aren't a whole lot of options. I mean, I don't know what happened with Tiffany Stratton.
Yeah.
She was super hot and over, and they kind of just haven't really done anything with her. She did post something questionable on Instagram not too long ago that reports said did not affect her positioning in the company at all. But I mean, since then, she hasn't really been utilized to what I believe is her full potential. But who knows? I mean, it very well could have just been the thing where it's oh, that Scottish show's coming up. We got to put Piper Niven in here. Let's put the brakes on everything else. And then now, come Friday, we'll see Tiffany back in, and maybe she...
Come Friday?
Actually, you know what? Tiffany probably wins Money in the Bank.
I like that.
I feel like that makes the most sense.
And she's vocally said it in interviews that she wants to win the Money in the Bank so she can have her pink briefcase. And I'm all for that.
I was just going to say, she should turn it into a handbag.
Little Barbie joint.
Yeah, have it be a smaller, little, cute pink.
Yeah, I'm down with all
handbag that says Money in the Bank on it. I think that would be really good.
You know what? It's been booked. It's been said. It's gonna come to pass. It's happening. God damn it.
And hey, I don't know. Well, I was gonna say maybe she even cashes in the same night, but then we wouldn't get any
get the novelty out of it.
Yeah, so maybe not, but
win it on the pay-per-view, sashay it for at least 1 week on television, then come back and get it the next week,
because otherwise I don't really know what else is there for Bayley right now.
Yeah, I mean, I'm in the same boat. I mean, as much as I love to see her on TV, I mean, I done seen it all for the most point,
Yeah.
And just to go back to the match that we talked about previous and whatnot, from what I understand, just, from from what I've been told. I don't know to be fact or what, but I think Chad Gable reached a deal with WWE.
Yes, he did. Chad Gable himself said in an interview that he re-signed, and Triple H alluded to it in the press conference after the show tonight.
Cool.
That talking, praising Chad's performance and saying that he's happy that he will be here for, where he belongs for years to come or something like that.
Okay. So yeah, because that was my thing when we did the pre-talk up for all these things. Like this would be a tale if he lost or won this match or whatever. If he wins, hey, you think he would have signed the deal, but if he lost, and he probably didn't ink the deal and whatnot. But that's to the contrary here.
Yes, well, you're wrong because he did resign and he lost, which apparently that's how Triple H does business, because everyone that re-signed contracts recently
lost.
Yeah, got their ass kicked. So
just when you think you got all the answers, I change all the questions.
Hey, that's another Scottish wrestler.
Exactly. But
reference.
Now, let's get into the main event for the men's and whatnot. So we have Damien Priest, the World Heavyweight Champion, versus Drew McIntyre. They did all this stuff. I mean, I'm burying the lead here, but like they did all this stuff for this man to lose, and like they themed the pay-per-view after this guy. I mean, they did these like heartfelt interviews and all kinds of this other stuff or whatever, and like it had me hook, line, and center to where, just to where I thought he had this in the bag, but the jadedness in me and whatnot was like, Punk is going to cost him this goddamn match. And that's what we got at the end. I like how they did it too, is to where like, but we'll get into it. What do you think about this match overall?
I loved it. I loved everything about it. I think it over-delivered in ring wise.
Going
even
with the faux pas.
It's actually
it added to it.
Yeah, it made it better. So first of all, crowd was hot, super into Drew McIntyre, obviously, but maybe I don't know. It didn't feel like I don't know. He didn't seem as over as I expected him to be. I guess like I was expecting like Bad Bunny in Puerto Rico levels, or like you know what I mean. Like it just maybe because of the arena or something. I don't know, but it didn't seem quite as loud as I thought it would be. He was very over. Don't get me wrong. Like.
Yeah,
very. But I was expecting like just insane loudness.
From what I understand from those decibel meters that they display on the screens and everything or whatever.
Is that a shoot?
I don't know. Gimmick. Yes, gimmick.
It's gimmick.
So,
okay.
Yeah. So.
But although granted, I did say all that, I will say I don't think I've ever heard someone's name being chanted so loudly during somebody else's entrance. Because Damian Priest was coming out and the whole crowd was singing for Drew McIntyre, and I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, but yeah, all that was to be expected. And then once the bell rang, I was a little nervous about the match. I was like, I don't know, can these guys actually deliver on a big stage like this? And they did. It was pretty great. And what you were referring to earlier is at one point in the match, Damian Priest went for a
springboard tope.
Yeah, a springboard tope where I think he's done it before.
Yeah, he's done it a lot. Yeah.
Where he basically springboards off of the
middle rope.
Inside middle rope and plunges over all three ropes. But when he did that, I don't know if he slipped or what, but his leg got caught, and
oh my,
this was one of the nastiest looking.
I thought he broke his shit. I was like,
how did he not rip his entire leg out of his leg? Shout out Owen Hart.
Oh man,
no, but like seriously, like it looked so bad. Violent. It looked so bad. But then, as you're watching the match, it's like the whole rest of the match is built around
selling
Damian
the
Priest's leg. Yeah, and it's like it made me like sit there and be like, did they plan that? Like,
nah, Yeah.
Because like, there's no way, right? There's no way you could possibly plan to pull that off. But like, if that spot doesn't happen, how does the rest of the match go? Because a lot of the key spots in this match relied heavily on Priest's leg being hurt. Like, there was, he hit a South of Heaven at one point, which is his finish, and like he couldn't go for a cover right away because his leg hurt so bad. And that is why Drew McIntyre was able to kick out. Like, is that just smart improvising by the performers and it makes everybody look good? I think so. But it makes me wonder, like, if that spot doesn't happen, is this match half as good as it was?
Yeah, exactly. What would this match would have looked like if he hit his move as intended?
Right.
You know, it's weird to think about that and everything. But like,
and I hope he's okay too.
Yeah, exactly.
Because
like you can tell when it happened because like the referee was like, "Oh shit," and then McIntyre
Drew didn't know
what
to do.
Yeah, because like you can see him run over to his leg to try to instinctually help him out of it. Right. And then like I guess at some point Priest would have been like, "I'm good," and that's when he started kicking him and shit, right?
Right.
Then he would go over to the table and start beating on the table to get the camera off of them so the referee can help him out the ropes, but the referee couldn't get him out.
Yeah, I thought it was all very well done, except for the fact that like you could tell obviously McIntyre was concerned, which he should be, but like from a kayfabe standpoint, like he definitely should have taken advantage of that more and beaten on him more while he was in that position. Look back at Eddie Guerrero versus Test from WrestleMania 17. Very similar thing happened there. And but either way, I hope he's okay. And if he is, perfect, because this worked out so well. The rest of the match was wrestled pretty much perfectly with Priest selling the leg and it affecting his ability to do some moves and capitalize properly.
It goes back to tell you, man, it's just like it's a mark of a performer to where you improvise.
Yeah,
good stuff.
And then another big part of the match was they're on the top rope and Damien Priest hits a Hurricane Rana, which
wild.
Like on one leg, and then of course he has to sell that leg, to be honest, to be fair, we're saying like, oh, he's doing such a good job selling the leg. Like that dude might really be fucked up, and it just he really was not able to move in between the moves as fast as he normally would. But like it added to the match. He was hopping on one leg, and Drew McIntyre quickly got up and hit a Claymore. I thought that was the end. Like, yep, they did it. Drew McIntyre wins, and Priest actually kicked out, which I thought was like huge for Priest. This whole performance was like this really, I think, shuts people up as far as the whole transitional champion thing because he won, but also it showed that he could, the Jey Uso match last month. It was all right. It was pretty good. But I thought this was a real breakout, like main event performance for Damien Priest.
Right.
And good false finish, and then shenanigans. Right. The ref like dives out of the ring. Yeah, well, he like dives out of the ring to avoid something, and I was like, oh,
and sprung his leg.
Here we go. Something's about to happen.
Yeah, because that was hilarious. Because like he dove out of the ring to avoid the collision and whatnot. And when he went outside of the ring, he was selling his leg like he sprung it, which would lead for him getting back on the apron and taking the bump again and shit. So
wait, no,
I thought that was pretty funny.
Avoiding collision. That's what you and I are doing tonight.
Yes, because I'm going to be doing a watch along
in the Patreon, patreon.com/Fatal4Pod.
But yeah, good stuff. Good planning on that part.
And then, so I don't know what you thought at this point of the match as far as what was going to happen, but I was expecting Judgment Day.
I was expecting Punk.
Yeah, I mean, I was eventually, but I definitely thought at first we were going to get, either Baszler or Carlito or both or JD or whatever combination of them, maybe one by one coming out, and Drew McIntyre, picking them off one by one, and it being like, he's going to do it. He's going to overcome all the odds. He's taken out all of Judgment Day. Nothing left but Damien Priest, and then Punk was going to show up.
Yeah.
But no, instead, I think we got a much more creative moment where McIntyre hits a Claymore, goes for the cover, the crowd chants to 8 or whatever while the ref's down.
Then the ref comes out, and I do that with air quotes.
Beautiful camera angle.
Exactly.
The ref just slides right into frame, counts the 1. As he's counting the 2, I'm looking at it, I'm like, he's got some slick back hair.
Well, I didn't even notice that much of it or whatever. What was the tell for me is the freaking Nikes. I was like, wait a minute.
Oh yeah, he had some Jordans on. I didn't even notice the shoes. I noticed the slick back hair, and then I noticed the full arm sleeve, like Under Armour or whatever. And I was like, hold on, they're not in Saudi, and that's not a women's ref. Something's going on here. And like as he was coming down on the 2, I was like, that's CM Punk. And he doesn't count the 3. Just wonderful shot.
I was so confused. I was like, wait a minute. He's in ref gear. I was like, did they make him the ref? What the fuck is going on?
But, and so, right, a lot of people's immediate reaction was like, oh, come on, this is ridiculous. He just had a ref shirt ready and, like, was waiting for this spot. No, WWE put out a backstage video on social media that showed CM Punk in the Under Armour watching the match backstage, see what happens, and he goes, looks around and goes, Jessica, give me your shirt. And he takes a referee shirt from Jessica Carr and then runs out. And I thought that was very smart. You know, whoever's idea was to film that was, you know, kudos to them. I love this. I don't care what everyone's like pissed about this and is mad that they screwed over Drew McIntyre again. I think this is great. And it's not just because I'm a huge CM Punk fan. I've said this.
It is. I'm messing with your message.
I mean, I'm a big CM Punk fan. I do love that. But I just think this Drew McIntyre character works best as someone who just is repeatedly screwed over and over and over and over again. And he just goes more into madness and gets angrier and angrier. And like, it's just a better character. Like he just keep adding all of this onto him and it's going to make that character better.
Yeah.
Yeah, he doesn't get his moment in front of his home crowd. Like, I know, but like sometimes, you know, characters need that. Everyone was mad that Cody lost.
The first
Hollywood
time,
at the first time, right? And then look how amazing WrestleMania 40 was this year. I hate
and
to
then,
be
like,
that cliche, but like, let it play out.
You know, I have my beef with CM Punk or whatever, but like, just between these two or whatever, I feel like the feud between him and Drew McIntyre is beyond the title at this point.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
So it's just like it's fine. You know, all of me wanted Drew to win, but you know, if these two are going to be the feud going forward, then I'm fine with that. You know, because like, despite how I feel about CM Punk personally, you know, as a wrestling fan, business wise, it makes the most sense to do it this way.
Yeah, I agree. And an interesting tidbit from the press conference as well. CM Punk was a special surprise guest. He did arrive with some donuts.
Man, a whole bunch of surprising by the Punk, huh? Surprise at the press conference, surprise in the match.
Nothing too controversial in this one. This is the last first press conference he's done since All Out 2021. So nothing too controversial though. He did tell one of the air quotes journalists to get that fantasy booking shit out of here when he suggested that Drew McIntyre and CM Punk should have their first match in Hell in a Cell. But the other thing that he said,
I don't think his bones could withstand.
The other interesting thing that he said was that as long as he's breathing, Drew McIntyre will never hold the world championship ever again.
So you heard it here first. Drew McIntyre is going to commit the murder.
Yeah, I don't know. I thought this was great. I loved it. People are going to be upset about it and think Drew McIntyre is being screwed over, but I think it adds to the character.
It benefits him later.
Exactly, because the money match is him and Punk, and like, that's it. It's huge. They've done such. This is a feud that, like, if you had told me prior to the Royal Rumble that Drew McIntyre and CM Punk was going to be like the big money feud, I would have been like, that's fucking stupid. That's a waste of CM Punk. But at every turn, they have made this complete. Like it's organically become the biggest feud in wrestling, and I agree with what you said.
It spawned a meme.
Yeah, several. It doesn't need the title, like you said. It's bigger than that. So I'm perfectly okay with all of this. It legitimizes Priest, especially after the performance he put on. He deserves it. What'll be interesting though is, do we get him and Gunther for real at SummerSlam? Because also Priest at the press conference, someone asked him like, "How do you feel about potentially fighting Gunther at SummerSlam?" And he was like, "What do you mean potentially? I am the world champion. I'm fighting Gunther at SummerSlam." Which, I mean, of course, we have a whole other PLE between now and then, so who knows? But I don't know. I said on the show a couple weeks ago that I don't think that that's like a great match, but I don't know. Priest won me over in this match, and who knows? It might actually be really good. So,
Yep. So,
what do you think of the show overall as a whole?
I thought it was good. I mean, the crowd was great. It was just it was a vibe for me or whatever, and it, especially, you know, having fellow wrestling fans to hang out with me on the Discord, which you all too can do if you go to fatal4pod.com. That's FOUR pod.com, and join on Patreon and whatnot. But I enjoyed it from top to bottom. I mean, despite some of the things that I might have changed.
Sure.
But overall, I mean, I think they're going in some good directions, you know, post this show.
Yeah, definitely. I agree with that. It was a far from perfect show, but it wasn't boring. I was entertained the whole time. 5 matches. It's
good to take a break from all that crazy bullshit. Like 30 matches, 15 matches, all that shit.
Yeah. So yeah, I would say if you didn't watch this show and you tuned in, first of all, thanks to hear our thoughts. And you're like, should I go back and watch any of it? I do think the opener and the closer
is worth it.
Are worth going out of your way to watch. The rest of it, I think you can skip. But
watch it all.
I mean, if you have 3.5, 4 hours, whatever it is, to kill, and you know, sure. Like I wouldn't say you'd be wasting your time watching the whole show, but if you're like, I've only got, you know, under an hour to kill, you know, watch the opener and then skip to the main event.
So let me tell you, in contrast, tonight we had 5 matches, like you said, including the pre-show matches. Last night TNA had their Against All Odds pay-per-view, and they had a total of 10 matches. One being Jordan Grace. Yeah, one being Jordan Grace having her open title match. Who would answer the call? One Tatum Paxley from NXT.
What the hell?
Yeah. So there you go. The forbidden door or the prohibited portal for TNA is open.
Prohibited portal. Did you make that up?
No, I wish I did.
Okay. That's pretty good.
Yep. But hey, it was a good show top to bottom. You already got our glowing recommendations of some of our favorite moments and everything. And if you like what you heard here tonight or whenever you listen to this, join us Friday mornings as we do Didn't Get All of It Proper. If you want more content from us, go to fatal4pod.com. That's FOUR pod.com. And, you know, just hang out with us. And, you know, we talk about you joining our Patreon and giving us money every month, but you can be a part of our Discord. We have a free section. Just sign up for that. You can find links to it. I'll make sure it's available on our Fatal 4 Pod Twitter. But if you follow me on Twitter or X, whatever the fuck you call it, at It's B-Rob or at 3R Show, I have those links pinned, I believe, for the free section of our Discord. So you can come join and have fun with us and everything. Because we're around there too. You know what I mean? We're not hiding behind the paywall. I mean, we're here for everybody.
Hey,
So-
if we're plugging Twitter, X accounts, follow me at Cody. It's Kody.
The easiest Twitter account that you can follow, our X account on the market. Kody. That's it. I'm so fucking jealous. Yeah, but hey,
follow the
that's
show
it.
also, Fatal 4 Pod.
Yeah, is I think that wherever we are is the same across the board. So Fatal FOUR Pod on Instagram, X, Blue Sky,
TikTok.
YouTube, Twitch, TikTok. It's all there. Same name.
It's all there, but we didn't get all of it. We'll try again next week, folks.
Bye.